in our most recent bearing witness retreat at Auschwitz, Manny and Renee were our guests and traveled from Rapid City to Denver to Munich to Krakow, and were able to participate in the Bearing Witness retreat for the week. And it was such a wonderful opportunity, and I'm so appreciative that Manny and Renee were willing to make the long journey to do that. And so we wanted to we wanted to spend a little bit of time and have Manny and Renee share their impressions of their time in Poland and at Auschwitz-Birkenau, and with you all. And I'm just so happy we've got such a great group of people here today. So I will pass the microphone and the talking stick to Manny and Renee, and mute myself. And Chloe, if we can do a speaker view so everyone can see well. Um, and we'll try to leave some time at the end for your questions or anything you'd like to comment or share. Um, and with that, I will go ahead and mute myself. Manny and Renee, I thank you so much for joining us today. We did it. It's always a little bit like walking a tightrope, isn't it? You never know. So I'm so happy you're here. I hope you're both healthy and warm. I know it's been really, really cold. We don't live that far away from each other. We're about, what, 6 hours, 7 hours apart. And it's a couple of weeks ago, it was really, really cold down here. And so I hope you didn't have pipes burst. Okay, Renee, you're muted, I believe. I can't hear you. So take a
Can you
look.
hear me now?
Now we're good. Now we're good.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll introduce Manny and Renee Ironhawk, and I will mute myself and say thank you all for being here.
Good morning. My name is Renee Ironhawk. My Lakota name is Okahehihuniwi, which means arrives first woman, which I believe I kind of challenged my name this morning by not logging on at the, requested time. So I was a little bit late, but I'm here now, and I look forward to sharing with you on the experience my Hassani Manny and I had when we came to Poland and visited Oishim, and the concentration camps there, Auschwitz and Auschwitz-Birkenau. And we put a little PowerPoint together, uh, which we will share in a bit here. But I wanted to start with a prayer because whenever we have meetings in our Lakota way, we always try to start in a good way. We try to pray and get guidance from our relatives and our spirit relatives that are always with us. And so I believe Manny was going to say a prayer.
Okay, let's start. Let's begin with the prayer for today. Oh, Tukashila. Okay, I'm 51 was state. We have okay, we are now with Chasha. Won't go a copy. Taku Hena Loyapi, the Wayaka. Hena Iwungak. Hena Taku Oste Shinkupi. Hena we chosen. Mitaku Oyas.
Okay, I just want to do a little intro by sharing that we have been bearing witness with the Zen Peacemakers, doing the Chesapa Black Hills bearing witness plunges. We've been co-hosts and co-hostess with our older sister, our Chue Violet Catches. And I just want to share that the first time we did the bearing witness in the Black Hills was in 2017. And at that time, uh, after or during the bearing witness, I learned of the bearing witness that was being done for over 27 years at that time. And that I've always heard of Auschwitz and I've always heard of the World War II, and I've seen, the news reels of the concentration camps, and I always could relate to it for some reason. And when I first learned of it, when I was very young, I seen news reels and I read about it. At that time, I never knew that our people had experienced massacres also in our history. Um, you know, my parents might have told me about Wounded Knee, which was one of the last uh, massacres that we experienced as a people with the United States Cavalry. And I think my mother mentioned to me when I was a teenager or my early 20s, but I never really fully understood it, or it wasn't relatable to me until I started seeing movies where they showed scenes like I believe one of them was Little Big Man, and another one was Into the West, where they showed these scenes where men, women, children were being shot at, killed, and they had Gatling guns. And so when I seen that, then it became very relatable to me, and uh, it was as if the experience of watching that, it was like it only happened last week. That's what I felt. That was the emotions that came to me. That it was so recent. I mean, I felt as if it was, and I never understood what that was. Being um, uh, having those feelings, and so I didn't understand it at the time when I experienced those feelings. But I came to find out later that that was uh, generational trauma, generational grief, multi-generational uh, that had been passed down uh, within my DNA. And that is why I felt such a relatable connection. And so to me, I think that that's what caught my interest when it came to Auschwitz, Birkenau. From that first time when I heard about it back in 2017, that this is what the group of Zen peacemakers were doing, going there, bearing witness. And I just had this pull or this interest, and I thought to myself, I want to go there. I would like to go there. I would like to visit that place. And I remember asking questions about it to General and Shell, and they're like, oh yeah, well, sometimes we have scholarships, and so we'll see, may not have any this year, but possibly next year. And so, but I always had that interest in being able to eventually go go to Auschwitz-Birkenau because, I felt a connection. Even though I seen these photos that were horrendous and horrible and kind of unfathomable, fathomable, and but for some reason I just wanted to go ever since 2017 when I knew that there was a buried witness there. And so when we were asked and invited to go this past August, we were very agreeable, or I was very agreeable, and Manny was interested too. And so that's kind of the background of how I always was interested. For some reason, to me, I could relate, and maybe not on a scale of such genocide done in such a short period of time. I relate it because our genocide here in the United States, to us as Lakota people and to other American Indians, Native Americans, our genocide spanned a few centuries or more. And so, but there was millions of us that were also killed in the creation of this great nation, in this creation of a country that we already had inhabited. But I believe it's a real touching story, but it is our history. And we are the original people of this land, which we were called when we landed in Munich and were getting boarding from Munich to Krakow. The people, the ticket takers, the ones that are at the boarding gate, we had a issue with our airline tickets. So one of the individuals there one of the ticket guys went and asked us about our last name. He said, your name is unique. They asked Manny, are you from America? Are you one of the original ones? And Manny said, yes, I'm Lakhota, I'm Sioux. And so they really became happy, those two gentlemen. And the one talking to Manny said, so are you a chief? And so Manny just laughed and agreed with him. But he said, can I tell my sons that I met you today? That I met an original American? And so Manny said, yeah, you can. And then they were working on our tickets. And then next thing you know, they got our boarding tickets ready. And we went to get on the plane, and we were going back to the coach or the economy section where we always travel in, and here they stopped us and they told us that our seats were in first class. And so we thought that was pretty special that they bumped us up to first class and we got to sit and eat some really nice food and have really nice drinks. And they showed their appreciation of us by doing that, I think. And we really felt good about that, welcomed, and it kind of...
excuse me, Renee, I'm sorry to interrupt. Would you mind speaking up just a little bit? Some people are having a hard time hearing.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll do that, but if we could, I'll turn it over to Manny because and we can start the PowerPoint too, so that it can kind of help us to present the information we want to present. And can you guys hear me better now? I'm talking a little louder. And let me see. I'm gonna check and see if I can turn up my speaker on my
They're saying yes, it's better.
Pardon me.
People are saying yes, they can hear you better.
Oh, okay. I'll try to, talk in a louder voice. But if you could put up the PowerPoint, the first screen or slide, then I'll just turn it over to Manny.
Yeah.
I'll be right back. Waiting for you.
So on these PowerPoint, we took not a lot of pictures, but we took pictures when we remembered, and as we went along, we continued to do pictures. So and of course we had to do the 9-hour flight on the airplane, and we never been to Europe before, so it was an experience when we landed in Munich, and what history Munich has. And I remember all the news of Munich when I was growing up, and just so surreal that we were actually at Munich airport. The flight was long, and of course I couldn't sleep. Very little, maybe, I don't know, 5 minutes at the most. Was occupied by watching movies and continuing on like that. So I on the just like over. Oh, lost it.
Manny and Renee, can we help somehow?
There, we got it back. We thoroughly enjoyed where we stayed. I just wanted to thank Peacemakers and all the people that were involved making that But I was telling Renee that I told her that this is a spiritual journey that we're going on. And we said prayers as such. And we always go on spiritual journeys here on the Wounded Knee 1890 Descendants meetings that we attend every other month. And so those are also spiritual journeys where we attend and do the best we can for our relatives. And upon first time I heard about these concentration camps, of course I was full of emotions from one spectrum to the other. And I said that we also experienced these horrific massacres here in the United States. These massacres, mainly the one Wounded Knee, 1890, our relatives were basically disarmed and massacred, men, women, children. And so I believe that it parallels what happened over there in Auschwitz and Birkenau. And I thought I handled it pretty good until I saw the children's barracks, until I saw the children's shoes and children's hair. And then that's when it hit me. And then we visited one of the gas chambers. We walked through it, and I could feel something. And so when we came out the other side, I silently said a prayer and continued on. So, you know, there's over 100 massacres that occurred in the United States. Sand Creek with the Cheyenne, Blue Water Massacre in South Dakota. Some you never heard of, but just now they're bringing them to light. And it's just a portion of genocide that happened here in the United States. And I just was reading a book. You know, I read books on Wounded Knee and any books that has interest that I have. And I wanted to show you this book that I was reading. And I don't know, you could see it that close, but that's what this book I'm reading. And but as far as Wounded Knee, we are still gathering our story. My grandma who survived had a story, and other descendants have stories. And there's already a book on Wounded Knee. And we're going to gather these stories and put the puzzle together and get a true perspective of what happened to our relatives. That fateful day at Wounded Knee, December 29th, 1890. And we are looking to archive all this material, maps, pictures, everything. And someday soon, I hope, we can start putting this puzzle together and see what really happened. So up until now, there's a lot of non-native authors on the book, and that's open to interpretation. And so these books or these stories that we have, I believe, will tell the truth of what happened. My grandma's story is I believe, of what happened in Auschwitz-Birkenau. It's very similar. They didn't mind the children. Same thing. So on that fateful day, my grandma, that day at Wounded Knee, the air was so thick with apprehension that everybody knew something was going to happen. And our grandma, he took the hand of our survivor grandmother, and she said to her, Lakhota, grandchild, we are going to run this way to this ravine. And if I fall, you keep running. And that's exactly what happened. There are many stories like that. And so I think the children of Auschwitz-Birkenau, they did not know what was going to happen. The terror that they felt. And when you feel terror, your body changes. Sometimes at Wounded Knee, our ancestors, the survival mode kicked in. And they ran as far as they could. And so this is just part of a little story that my grandma told us. And of course, my mother and their sisters, my other mothers, and my mother's sisters are also my mothers. And so they would be sad and they would cry. And then we would experience that and we continue to hold that in historical trauma at one knee. But I told Renee, we need to stop that. Our children know sometime, someday, today, we need to start healing ourselves, continue. And we need to put Wounded Knee in perspective. In Auschwitz, Birkenau, we say prayers for them. And some days it's hard. And sometimes we only resort to prayer. But I believe the ancestors and at Auschwitz and Birkenau, I believe they hear us. And they made the journey. Wow. But this is what we need to do. Every day, to be smudged and say a prayer. So, my experience experience there was full of emotion, but I did not tell Renee. Instead, I prayed. What can we do? And I too watched World War II. As a matter of fact, my father is a World War II combat veteran, served in Sicily, Italy. And he didn't talk too much about the war, but he talked a little bit about the war. So I found out about the concentration camps and seen it on TV, television. And why does this need to happen? Why does this need to happen here in the United States? And so it's a very emotional experience of actually being on the ground at Auschwitz-Birkenau. Like my emotions, like I said, was from one extreme to the other, and I could not do anything about it. So I just resorted to prayer and continue on. So I jotted a few things down here. So recently, just to do a little short update, Wounded Knee received some artifacts back from Barre, Massachusetts. Those were taken from the massacre site over 132 years, and we just now returning. So, and I believe there are more coming back for answers. And so our work is not done. It's a lifetime work. When more items come return home, I believe our ancestors are happy to be home. They're also happy to make their journey, finally. So we've been dealing with items, and we will conclude with that. These certain items that are coming back. There are other places that told us that they have items as well. So I'm going to talk about the term Mitaku Yepoya. It's term that we use in our prayers, and it's a term that says all are relatives. And so Mitaku Yepoya, it comes from the philosophy of the Lakhota, and it means everything above and everything below, the heaven and what is below. In our philosophy, our lands reflect the stars. What's in the stars is also on the land, and we revere the land, our connection to the land. So it's very important when we make that connection. And everything in between. Mitaku Oyasi, the ancient term, very old term in the Lakota language. And it goes back where in our history, when the humans were also classified with the animals, particularly the buffalo, dead people. And that was why we have a closeness connection to the buffalo. And but eventually that led to a separation from our dead people relatives. And we became two-legged. And being that we have many similarities, and elders concluded that we have many, what is it called, symbiotic relationships, very close. And so the circle of life in Lakota, closeness to all life. And so Metakuye means my relatives. Everything in this world is our relative. And we cared for the land. We took what we needed. We never overtook anything. And Oyasi means from Oyate, natural life form, Oyate. And and the sea, Mitaku Oyasi, is everyone, all the relatives. Yeah. So I was thinking about all this when we visited Poland, and what was unique about Auschwitz and Birkenau. The whole week we were there, they were school teachers, school masters accompanying their class to visit camp. And I thought to myself, what a way to actually teach the subject, what happened there. And I thought to myself, we need to do that. We need burial sites. We need to take our school children there and tell them the story of what happened to our relatives. And actually visit and show them how to pray for our ancestors. And have a visit, because it means a lot when you actually visit. So that is what I'm gonna push for our local schools here. And actually telling them the story. Because to me, it's the same thing, same difference from what happened over there to here. And so it is and so through the Lakota, everything is a circle. The circle has no beginning, ending. The circles that we make out of porcupine quills, symbols of the colors. What was those called? Anyway, the medicine wheel. Maybe some of you have seen the medicine. in that circle. There's a lot in that circle. So one of the ways is when we are born, when a child is born, takes that circle around clockwise. And as the child grows, she or she is celebrated everything. Everything that she gets, it was celebrated. That's how important child is. A child put in the forefront and always forefront. And so also the circle represents immortality and infinity. And also it represents security, because everyone or anything in a circle is protected. And we have a buffalo ceremony that exactly copies what the buffalo actually do to protect themselves. They form a circle, and the little ones and the women were in the middle. The next were the older children or older men. The older men, then the outer circle is the buffalo, that bull buffalo that has its he's supreme and he has healthy. He's circle. He's in the outer circle, so nothing can get through. You can go all the way around, but you can't get through. That is the protection. And we had the ceremony. And we had that ceremony this past summer at what you call Devil's Tower, but we call it Greyhorn Butte. If you go on the northeast side of the Greyhorn Butte, you can see the horn sticking out of the ground. And I was always told that. But until I actually seen it, it was awesome. I could see what they meant. So that's actually a buffalo horn stuck into the ground. So the system of counting is in circles. The pictography, have you seen, is in spirals and circles, like the buffalo hide winter cup. You see, they're like spirals. Lakhota logic is circular than linear. But sometimes, we have to think out of the box. And so some of our elders said too that the universe is round. And I could see that with this new space telescope that they have. Every once in a while, I see pictures. That's awesome. So everything comes in cycles and stages. So all heavenly bodies are basic circles. And the earth is round. The moon is round. And this is the teaching that our elders get, ancestors got from way back then. And even our camps were in circles around the camp each way. So when I was growing up, we went to a gathering or so. There would be a guy standing at the gate, and we asked him. He would say, "Where are you from?" He would say, "We're from the Cheyenne River, Okapawa State, and where the band is Uchwoju." And he'll say, "Oh, okay, those people are camped there." So we will go over there and camp all around. That's the way it used to be done. You couldn't just randomly camp somewhere. They put us in different areas, keep us together. So, you know, the injustices of the American Indian, you know, there's a lot that we have endured, and we continue to be in litigation against some cases, and that's because of laws that were made up. And so I'm going to go through quickly. One of the doctrines was the doctrine of discovery. Pope Paul, he decreed a doctrine of discovery, and he didn't consider Native people human. And so whatever land they got, it was all about the land. So, and then a trust doctrine where the land, we couldn't own land. The Bureau of Indian Affairs has to control our land because we were incompetent. We were savages and we couldn't think for ourselves. And in the plenary doctrine too, you know, it is still in place today. And come to find out, colonialism is a form of racism, and we already know those. So one of the cases in 1877 was the theft of our sacred land, the Black Hills, or the Chesapa, we call it. Everything that is comes from the Chesapa. It is where our origin stories come from. And so in 1980, the Supreme Court said it was no more rank feelings that they confiscated that. But they wouldn't give the land back. Only monetary. And so today, that monetary amount is over $1 billion. But still, the Lakhota would not take that. They want what was rightfully stolen, what was rightfully theirs. And so today we're still litigating. We're still here. And of course, so there are some others, but so the Lakota worldview is complex and often misunderstood because of its closeness to nature. We always knew nature. We talked with nature. We lived with nature, side by side. the spiritual realm and kinship of all forms of life. It still is today. So when the people truly believe, they walk a fine line between what is above, what is below, and Mother Earth is one of them. And some of us call it Turtle Island. And so the Lakota children were raised in that manner. They were taught morals and behavior and the closeness to nature. Spiritual realm existed kinship. The children began living in harmony with what is above and below. And the Lakota worldview prepared the people to live a balanced life. So that is what we strive for every day. And we pray for the people of Auschwitz and Birkenau. And I wanted to share our prayers going up all over the world. Ukraine, what's going on over there? Women and children are getting killed, hurt over there too. We say the prayers, but we remember them because our elders, they remember you. And our traditional governance, our leaders were always looking out for the people. And whenever something bad or not good comes toward the people, the leaders will stand in the way. This is not good. We have to stop it. And so our leaders were always thinking about our 7 generations ahead. So I like to think that I am here because somebody, our relatives, prayed for me 7 generations ago to come and live this life on earth and to be the best Lakota man, to look out for the family, the Ospai, basically the people. And I wanted to, the Lakota men, they went through a history too. It wasn't good. We lived in a valley of tears. We were hunted down after Little Bighorn. And the leaders were assassinated. Leaders such as Sitting Bull, Crazy Horse, they were all assassinated. They didn't want to deal with it. They just wanted out of the way. But that is another story for us Lakota men. Who can we trust? We cannot trust the outside. That's been set a long time ago. So we strive to heal ourselves, to talk about things that affect us. And as protectors of the family, women and children, our roles have went in a different way. So, but that is another story of the Lakota man that had to endure the hardships today. So I wanted to stop there, and I wanted to thank you for listening. I and Renee, we strive to do the best we can every day, and certainly this spiritual journey to Auschwitz-Birkenau was one of them. An experience that I will never forget. And we told that to our children, and so this is the way we always try to keep the family, everybody. So, hit you too. Thank you.
Jeff, did we go through those slides already?
Yes, we did, Renee. Yep, we did.
Okay. Well, I just I don't know what we're looking at for time. How much time do we have left?
Well, we had scheduled this for another half hour. So, if Manny and Renee, if you're agreeable, I'd love to open for questions. I'm sure many people here have questions specific to, your experiences at the camps and what that was like to be there. A lot of people on this call have been on this retreat, or more than a few people, I think. So if we can open up to questions, let's do that. And there are more of you than I can see. So the hand, physical hand waving doesn't work so well. Down under on your Zoom screen on reactions, you can select raise hand. And if you'd like to raise your hand, I'll recognize you, and you can unmute and make a comment or ask a question or share somehow. So let's go ahead and do that for a while.
Okay, that sounds
That's
good.
good.
That sound good to you guys? Okay.
Yep.
And Ryugan, I saw your hands. I saw clapping hands. I'm not sure if that was raising hand, but go ahead. Go ahead if you'd like.
It was both. Hi,
Okay.
Renee. Hi, Manny.
Oh,
Hi.
hello.
This is Dennis from out here on the Long Island.
Okay.
Hi, Dennis.
Dennis.
I went to the second retreat in Auschwitz, and along with people, and Tuffy Sierra was there.
Yes.
He came, and he was allowed, or he could bring a pipe with him, and he did ceremonies. We had a Muslim imam, we had rabbis there, we had the Buddhists, Catholics, and everybody did ceremonies around the camp. And Tuffy did a pipe ceremony at one of the places in the camp. And I was wondering if you guys did any ceremonies, particularly at the camp anywhere, and how that went. Because it was very powerful, as I remember. This was quite a while ago, but the ceremonies themselves were really, we got to go to all of the different ceremonies, and they were very, very powerful in that place. So I was just wondering if you guys did any ceremonies in your tradition, as the other religions did. That's all, and just say hi.
Great question, Dennis. Thank you.
Yeah, I believe that Manny did do a Lakota prayer over in Auschwitz-Birkenau, when different ones were sharing like prayers. He did a reading of a prayer, but he did it in Lakota, and but I don't believe we had like a pipe ceremony or chanupa ceremony. I don't believe that we took our pipe. So, because Manny carries one for our family, and I don't believe that we took ours at that time. We really didn't know um, what the experience would be like. We knew we would be bearing witness, and we knew that it was it's almost indescribable because to say it was atrocity doesn't seem like it's enough to say that because it was past that. It was more worse than an atrocity. The way I feel about it, and so we really didn't feel, or I know for myself, didn't want to impose our Lakota ways into that setting, just out of respect, because we were there to experience it, to witness it, to listen to the story of what happened there, as horrendous as it was. And we had a chance to somewhat experience what the people of the concentration camps experienced in regards to being assigned a bowl, um, going each day for lunch, going and eating, using our bowls to get soup, being allowed to eat bread with our soup. And, that was a powerful way to show us just a little, it was a little idea of what the people in the camp had to go through. And that bowl was their life because if they lost it, they starved to death. And that in itself, it really impacted me, as well as what Manny was saying about seeing all the children, all their items, and also seeing so much hair of the people that were killed there. For us, in our culture, hair is a part of us. It's an extension of us. We never cut our hair unless someone that we're real close to, like our parents or grandparents, if they pass away, and out of grief, we can cut our hair. And but other than that, we never cut our hair because it's a part of us. So for us to see that hair there, I just to me it was like a remain, a person's remain, a part of them, and I just I took a lot out of
I'm
it.
getting very emotional right now thinking about that myself. Yeah, that's very powerful. Really.
Yeah, and plus the children, seeing the children. But what triggered me, because I've kind of felt like I detached or dissociated, just kind of disconnected somewhat from my emotions while I was there, so that I could do what I needed to do, which was to bear witness and not break down. And seeing what the children had to experience, because like in all cultures, children are most sacred. And but when I got home, I didn't really process until someone shared a story of one of our young Lakota relatives that was in boarding school, and the child was beat to death for speaking Lakota, and the child refused to speak English. And they just came right out and said, "No, I'm not gonna hear, Oshichiwa Wogalaka Shni, Wogalaka Shni. I'm not gonna speak your English." And the person, the missionary, hit him and everything. And they're like, "Don't speak Lakota," and he just kept speaking Lakota, and he got beat to death because he would not comply. And not all the children were that way. A lot of them complied because they wanted to live. But this particular child, when I heard that story, uh, I broke down and I cried for the children at Auschwitz-Birkenau.
Thank you, Renee. And Paula, you've had your hand up here for a little while. And by the way, Dennis, thank you for your question. That was wonderful. Thanks. Paula, you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and there you go.
Hello. Hi.
Oh,
Hi,
oh,
Paula from New York. I haven't seen you in a long time. Yeah, but I'm going to come. Oh, thank you for sharing your story of bearing witness so that I could bear witness to your story. Wow. When Manny was talking about he got the feeling or the teaching or the message from the school children visiting while he was there, I said, yeah, that makes such sense.
mm,
When I go to visit South Dakota, I'm almost afraid to go to Wounded Knee. I've never been. I'm afraid. And that has to change. We need to be educated
yes.
and bear witness. And I was thinking, virtual for people like me that live very far away. My daughter, who's a teacher, eventually, maybe when you do this, because you are going to do it. I know you're going to do it. Because when you were there, the items were presented from Massachusetts.
Mhm.
We need to learn. So the children need to learn. And I know being on the land is different than virtual, but we got to start, we got to start somewhere too. So maybe filming when you do it
Mm.
so that we have it. I know you already thinking of that anyway. I think that's very important. My son was in Europe. He came back. He was studying over there. My ancestors from Europe came here, my grandparents on my mother's side, my father's side. They came here from Europe. And I have no stories of their lives because they didn't share. So they didn't have good stories. So when they came to this country, they started from nothing and they wanted to forget.
Mhm.
And that's an intergenerational trauma.
Mhm.
And so I don't know specifics, but I know in my heart, it was not easy for them and my ancestors.
Mm.
I'm Polish, Lithuanian, and Hungarian, and Slovak, and some Jewish. I don't know how much, but it's all, it's there somehow, So my son was visiting and he had one more trip he wanted to do before he came home. He was studying school there. And he said he wanted to go to Budapest. And I said, that makes me happy because we have some ancestors somewhere along the line that lived in Hungary. And when he was there, there's this big river that goes through Budapest, the city of Budapest, that divides it. And there is now a memorial there of standing on the edge of the platform of the river on one side. There are a statue of metal shoes. Because during World War II, they lined the Jewish people up, the women, the children, the elderly. They made them take off their shoes because it was valuable, the shoes. And they pushed them in the river. And they just let them float downstream. They shot them, and I don't know if they shot them, but this is the memorial that Budapest has.
Mm.
These atrocities happen everywhere. Right? us, me, humans. And I pray. I will join your prayer daily with smudge.
Yes.
I'm forgetting to smudge lately and pray. And I will pray for the traumas that we all carry in our hearts and on our bodies, in ourselves. Thank you. I love you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
just
you for that,
wanted-
Paula. Thank
I
you so
just-
much, Paula.
Thank you, Paula. I just wanted to add on to, what you said about that your parents, their experience, they didn't want to talk about it. But I believe and I know through research that there is a gene that carries trauma. They have, in studying the DNA, there's a Navajo biodata researcher named Lee Bitsoy, and he has identified a gene, a trauma gene that's in our DNA that gets passed down generation to
Yes.
generation.
Yes.
And that's what we feel. And that's what connects us as people that have experienced trauma, which is probably just about all of us, because, we went through it at some point somewhere, and then it was brought to this country, and it was given to us, the trauma that was experienced. That's what I believe anyway. Trauma is just part of a cycle, and it's in our DNA. And so we need to find a way to experience what that DNA has done to us in our lives and our histories, and find a way to overcome or heal and overcome what that trauma does to us and how it just kind of perpetuates itself. But that's just some beliefs that I have about what we've experienced as people and how we affect each other. But we're all the one. We're all the same, because like in the DNA research they've done, they've seen that 99.9% of our DNA is all the same. 0.1% is what makes us different. Our coloring, our eyes, our hair colors, those physical differences. 0.1% makes us different. And so basically we're all the same as people. But I don't know. You just have to learn to get along. I mean, it's real basic, but we're basically the same as people. We're the human race. So, I mean, that's just what my input is in regards to how, as world citizens, we need to find ways to get along instead of fighting over things.
Thanks, Renee.
Yeah, be terrible to each other.
Eric, you've had your hand up for a little while. Do you want to unmute and let us hear from you?
Yes, I've got just two things and a question. First, Renee and Manny, it's very good to see you again.
Yes.
It's been 2 months, I guess, but it's really nice to see both of you. One, I guess, just a thank you for, I think one of the most special parts of this last bearing witness at Auschwitz was hearing you say the Kaddish for the dead in Lakhota.
Yes.
Just, I would even go so far as to say that was the single most special part of the entire retreat for me. So just thank you for that. Number two, what do I have? Number two. I'll be in touch about the language documentation project. I'm sorry, I haven't been in touch about it, but I hope we'll be able to submit grants for funding for that.
Yes.
Number three, I would just like to get your perspective on something. I'm 100% Jewish on both sides of the family. I practice Buddhism. I'm a Jubu, but growing up, I heard a lot of stories about Auschwitz-Birkenau. I remember having nightmares about it. But I'd like to ask you about a little more about generational trauma, because sometimes I think, okay, well, I did have extended family members who were gassed or shot, but who am I to feel traumatized? I've never had a rifle pointed at me. I've never been thrown into a cattle car. I've never had to form a circle with the women and children in the middle and the buffalo elders on the outside. Like I feel it, but it almost feels like a slap in the face to the people who were murdered or are not, or who lived through, I mean, Rwanda, Wounded Knee, Auschwitz, Srebrenica, I think it was called, I mean, the list goes on. I would just like to hear your thoughts about that.
I think that even though we weren't there and we didn't like experience it directly, but how I can relate it is like when they show movie scenes or anything that showing cavalry killing women and children, it's like, boom, I'm right back there.
Mhm.
It's like that just happened yesterday or last
Right.
so recent. And that, I believe, is that DNA gene that was given to me by my, or not given, but passed down congenitally, passed down from my parents, their grandparents, their great grandparents. Because, at some point, most of us as a people experience that, experience the prosecution, experience being beaten for speaking Lakota. It was literally beaten out of our children to not speak Lakota. Those kind of things are in our DNA. That's an extreme trauma to be told you're not okay, what you're speaking is not okay, how you look is not okay. So you gotta learn this way and then you'll be okay. You'll be acceptable. That's a trauma. And even though I wasn't there and I wasn't the one who got beaten, the fact that my parents would not teach me Lakota because they were so traumatized as children speaks volumes to why I cannot now speak Lakota. I'm barely learning. And I still have a mental block. I'm trying to get the hypnosis done so I can overcome that. But it's a detachment that happened with my parents and grandparents, and great grandparents, and it's with me. I didn't have to be there to experience, but it's with me, and they passed it down to me. And I struggle with that every day. I try to speak Lakota phrases with Manny and his sister, but I have a fear of not speaking it correctly, getting ridiculed or made fun of or getting mad at by other speakers. And people make fun of you if you say a word wrong. It's a reality that we live with, and that is contributing to us losing and continue to lose our language. So hopefully we can overcome that and people can have one of our values of compassion and teach us that don't understand, teach us in a better way, in a more understanding, patient, compassionate way. Because our language is beautiful. Our culture is in our language, just as well as the Polish language. Their culture is in their language. If you learn their language, you're gonna get a snapshot into how they think, how they see things, how they interpret the world. We're the same way. And, yeah, I might have went overboard, but
No,
No,
that was fine, Renee. Thank you.
thank
Eric,
you.
Eric, thank you for your questions and your comments. Wonderful. Thank you so much. We have just a few more minutes, but I'm going to ask if there's anyone else with a question or a comment. But I'd like to insert, David, I see your hand. But I want to just make a comment quickly before. A few of us in this meeting, Manny and Renee to be sure, Michelle Ingu Dobbs and myself, and perhaps someone else, were part of a planning group for this summer's Black Hills Bearing Witness retreat. And we'll have information soon about dates and whatnot. I know a number of people have asked if we're doing that again this year, and we very definitely are. We just need to, I'll share, we, we got together, what was it, Manny and Renee, the beginning of December? Or maybe it was November, I forgot. We hadn't seen each other for so long. We just told stories for the whole hour. and we never got to planning where or when or how long or anything. So, and then the holidays came. So, but we'll have information about that retreat coming soon.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. My friend David Birnbaum, you, I saw your actual hand. That was nice to see that.
Thank you, Jeff. I know we don't have a lot of time, but I have this impulse. What I'd like to do is talk to Manny, man to man.
Yes.
Not to exclude the women and the children from this conversation. You said, Manny, that when you feel terror, your body changes.
Yes.
And you said, Manny, that they hunted the Lakota men.
Yes. The leaders.
When I was in Auschwitz, there were things that happened to me that have never happened to me before in my body.
Mhm.
Give you an idea, Manny, when I was in the museum, I found out something that I had never known. This was 3 years ago, so I was over 70 when I was there, that my mother had been a prisoner in the camp, in Auschwitz. I knew my father had been. The point of what I'm trying to say, Manny, is that I was able to bear witness the way Renee spoke about because of the other people that I was with. How that terror that lived in my body that I felt when I was sitting on the floor of the barracks. That terror was lightened ever so slightly by the people that I was with and the actions that they took to move closer to me and how I could move closer to them to hold that terror together. When I was in the barracks at night, with those little candle lights we did in that barracks outside of the camp, Genro was leading the event, and I wanted to speak because nobody would speak, and he kept asking somebody say something, and nobody would get up and talk. But my body was shaking and I was in convulsions on the ground. The terror was inside of me. I felt what was in that barracks. And Tani came across to me and gave me his hand and helped me stand up. And when I got to Genro, he put his hand on my shoulder. And so I was able to stand and speak. So it was that shrinking of the space to hold the terror that I felt by another human being. Long story, Manny, but what I want to thank you from my heart is the compassion I feel that you have for my people.
Yes.
and that you pray for my people. And I want you to know in my heart, I hold the terror that your people felt being hunted.
Yes.
Thank you for the time, Jeff.
David, and
Well,
thank you for your comments. They're always so rich and deep and heartfelt. And this brings us close to the end of our time. If we could, Manny, would you offer a prayer before we all depart and close?
Yes.
Thank you.
Before I say the closing prayer, I wanted to, and I forgot to mention to everybody a Happy New Year. And in the Lakota calendar, traditional calendar, our New Year doesn't begin until the spring equinox in March 21st. And there's a little ceremony with the elders at that time. And that ceremony is called standing on the green grass again. That is a ceremony we do in March to celebrate the beginning traditional calendar of the new year. So we are beginning to observe our traditional calendars now, and the ceremonies and the New Year's and that such for our mainly for our children to know that the Lakota also have their own calendar, own history. So that is why we are beginning to get our traditional calendar. And of course, we have 13 moons, 13 months, 28 days in all of the months, 13 months. So that's yet to be accomplished or be made. So, go ahead.
This is Timmy. I just want to introduce him because he's been at my feet this whole time. He's my daughter's support dog, puppy. He's a Dachshund and Chihuahua. So he's they call him Chihuahuas. And he's a really good companion. And when he feels emotion or senses you're feeling emotional, he'll come around and he'll provide whatever support he can. So I just wanted to introduce him. His name is Timothy, but we call him Timmy. Say hi, Timmy. Timmy, say hi. Anyway, okay.
Thanks, Freddie.
Yep.
I wanted to thank everyone for joining us today. And as I like to say, as we break our circle, may everyone have the true path and what we call the red road, and walk on the red road in peace. Kugashila, okay, apetuma, wana, kiuni ki apika. Wana, wabia, ungalapik te yuka, hello kitchen for. No, which was any glue hapik. Okay, omakatrecho gunum kina jipik. Okay, tuksha, okay, ongalaka, hello. Oh, itakoyate.